G'day, folks. Today I'm going to do a Supercoach Team Reveal. So I actually had to go at this earlier and didn't have the mic going, so that's on me. So I'm doing a redo now. But yeah, essentially what this team should be helpful for and the value I can provide is the knowledge of all the minimum price players and really all the players broadly. But it should also help with the structuring as well. So ultimately, by I guess seeing my team and really following the rookies, it'll ensure that you pick the right rookies that are actually going to play and make you money. But then additional to that as well, that you've got the right structure that you can fit the rest of the team around it. So hopefully my teams help for that. But yeah, my plan is I've got a Supercoach video first up, then I'll go through my AFL fantasy and real dream team sides. So there are differences with each of the teams. So if you play that particular format, it might be worth a look. And in some of the formats, I'll have quite different players. So if there's players missing from, let's say, my Supercoach team in this particular video, well, chances are they may well be in either my fantasy or real dream team side, and I'll comment on them there. But feel free to hit me up in the comment section below if there's a particular player you'd like to know a bit more about, get my opinion on, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, starting off in defense. So Dacos, I've got captain option, happy with him. Think he, if anything, sort of improves his average ever so slightly, so we'll see what happens. Sheasel, similar story, not necessarily so much that he's a captain option, but I think he might slightly improve his average with Zeeble retired, Hall out of the mix as well, so that probably only helps him ultimately. And as long as he's not playing forward, he should score well and continue to score well, particularly if he's behind the ball. Hayden Young playing those midfield minutes, scoring well. He looks good to improve his average. And I should mention as well, I'm just using Selby logic here. Of course, being the back-to-back AFL Fantasy Champion, just using his logic around really looking for players, even if they're premium price, that represent some value and have some upside for growth. So that's how I'm sort of approaching things there. Elliot Yeo has the injury history, but seems to be healthy, ready to play them through the midfield, so he should be going well. And then from here, you've got the structural decisions to make. So I'm happy to have basically rookie price player in Williams here, and then I'm happy to field Reed. Reed being a key defender who, although sort of that ruck height key defender, he's a really good ball user, so Essendon won't hesitate to put the ball in his hands, I can't imagine, and can intercept a little bit. So I think he'll score quite well and to a standard that's sufficient to be fielded. Gibcus, he'll be inconsistent with his scoring, but he should basically do the same as he did in his first year, where he should have a few games here and there that should help him boost his price from his certainly starting price. But yeah, very much an interceptor, so his points will come from intercepting rather than, say, rebounding. But very defense first, so he will need those games where he does get those intercepting opportunities. But at the price point, I do like him and I'm happy to bench him. And then Phillips is that minimum price rookie who should have pretty good job security, I'd imagine. Is a pretty good pick too, in my opinion. And with Phillips, absolute freak of an interceptor. I do think with Hawthorn, though, he'll be relegated to a shutdown role, which plays against his strengths, which is unfortunate, and it won't help his fantasy football scoring. But he's one to have on your bench. The other one in defence, top of mind that I considered, I was strongly considering Nick Coffield, but I didn't include just for job security purposes, where, I'm going to guess here, but I'm guessing he probably plays early, but then there is the risk that he loses his spot. I do believe in his ability, but I also look at the Western Bulldogs' defence and sort of think, well, their general defenders are mostly pretty good, so and they can always put other good options back. So does he maintain his spot? Not sure. And for that reason, he's not in. So he could be one to consider. Also, a D'Ambrosio is another that I considered as an alternative to Williams. But since it looks like Williams will be playing round one, particularly at this price point, you just can't ignore him. Moving on from there, so mids, I've gone with Green. So genuine captain option. I think there's still a little bit of upside in terms of his potential for scoring. And I'd say similar for Parrish as well, where he's a little bit underpriced. can boost his scoring a little bit. And then I've gone with Miller, Steele, and Wines. So all three of them hugely underpriced. I really would struggle not to select any of them. I just think they're that underpriced. So fingers crossed they can each respectively return to their previous high scoring output. Sam Berry is the relative risk that I've taken, and I could have considered someone like a Bonner here and been pretty happy too. But with a Berry, look how good he was in 2022 and how good he's looking this preseason. He's pretty hard to not include, particularly at this basically rookie price, you could call it just about. So I think he'll make quite a bit of money, and I'd even prefer him over, say, a Rory Sloane in an Adelaide context. I think Berry actually plays ahead of him and goes past him, is my personal opinion there. So we'll see what happens. But Adelaide do have a deep midfield, so he won't be exclusively used as a midfielder. But fingers crossed he gets a good number of CBAs. That should be a good help if that happens. Basically for the rookie structuring to help you out, you can essentially go whether it's the 3 rookie mids on the field, or you could even have this one here as a, I guess, let's call it sub 300k type would be my recommendation. So it could be a Berry, a Bonner. And you've got the option as well, like you could just as easily move a Clark and Hustwaite to the field, either or. I'm yet to decide which one I'll have as the emergency, but I've got Hustwaite this moment. We'll have to see there. But I'd bring in maybe a Sean Manor if I was to do that. And look, if he's named round 1, I'll strongly consider that, where I'd go Manor as one of the emergencies, and then I'd happily bring in maybe Clark, maybe Hustwaite, one of those two most likely. But Hustwaite looks like a good centre bounce midfielder, really good as a junior, rapid improver, late grower, so they're the signs you want. And he's a beast on the inside, absolute contested beast, great with what he does by hand. So he'll rack it up and score well, is my thinking. Roberts looks good across halfback for Sydney, had a great preseason from all reports, and he's got the versatility to play whether it's through the mids, up forward. So even if there's a selection squeeze in defence, well, what's stopping him from getting games through the midfield? Just gives you all those options. So I think he's one where he's got the capability to hold his spot, but that is the one relative question mark. Does he? Definitely, particularly once all the mids are back, we'll have to see. Clark really liking the look of in the preseason, getting heaps of CBAs. Hopefully that continues during the year. But the early signs are looking good, so very confident selecting him. And as with Hustwaite, look, you could start him if you need to. There are those options. Going through the rucks, Gawn and Grundy, very hard to pass up on that value. And English could be easily considered. He was the other alternative if I didn't want sort of all these players with buys. That's a possibility, and obviously he's that genuine captain option. Naismith for the bench spot I was really keen on. I really want that cash generation opportunity from the bench, and Naismith is the obvious option for that. And look, I'm not going any sort of captain's loophole. There's enough sort of early buys where, look, there'll be players missing where I could easily use them as a loophole. And with a Naismith, he's got the scope if Nankervis misses enough time to really make a considerable amount of cash. So I'm not going to miss out on that cash generation opportunity. In the front half, Luke Jackson, look, with Darcy hurt, we'll have to see how long he's out for, but if it's for an extended period, well, Jackson basically becomes a must pick given how good he was when, in terms of at least scoring output, when Darcy was out. Because ultimately with Jackson, as I'd say with Darcy, he's clearly best suited through the ruck. So, and if he was mostly relegated to playing forward, well, you're not going to really get that proper premium output. So give him enough games through the ruck and that'll certainly help. And look, with the extra trades, if Darcy comes back in, say, a month, you can always flip Jackson out. So there are all those types of possibilities there. Fisher looks like a must-have in defence. Just racking it up. And fair enough. So you've got really Sheasel, you've got McKercher back as well. I think each of them will find a heap of it. And I don't recall mentioning with McKercher and Sanders. So McKercher must have, very fieldable. Sanders absolute must have, and he's a must start on the field. So, and look, I could wonder as well with the mids. Well, do I start McKercher? Do I start Hustwaite? Do I start Clark on the field? They're some of the things I'm sort of toying with. Even Roberts to a degree. deserves that level of consideration. They're all making sort of fieldable cash in terms of how much they're going to score, but it's just the options behind them don't really allow them to be super fieldable. So that's why they're all bench options and why I've structured up the way I have there. But yeah, Fife, looking at the price point, if he's playing pure mid, well, he's very hard to pass up, particularly looking sort of fit and healthy. So they're the keys there. There are a heap of others in this sort of sub 300k mark in terms of the forwards who look very appealing. So there are more than enough options if you're not keen on Fife. But look, being that sort of contested ball that he is and looking like he's going to be mostly midfielder at the very least, well, yeah, he's hard to pass up and has the scope to be a real difference maker for Fremantle with those minutes. So let's see how that works out. But yeah, very easy to flip for someone else who's around or slightly below his price. So yeah, not a problem at all having Fife in there. James Jordan, with all the Sydney injuries, it looks like he'll get a few CBAs and doesn't look like he'll be a sub-risk for Sydney. So yeah, one that I'm definitely keen based on all that to include in my team. I think he'll make a good amount of money. And then in terms of the forward rookies, so Reid and Sexton on the field, I'm pretty confident in. Reid, he'll play a lot of midfield, it looks like this year, just because the West Coast basically don't have a midfield, particularly with you've got Jinby and you've got Hewitt both hurt at the moment. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. In an ideal world, Reid plays in defence, but it just might not be possible. So we'll have to see how things play out there. And Sexton playing in defence, look, as long as he holds his spot, that'll be the key. But yeah, he's going to rack it up and make a good amount of money. So it's hard if he's playing not to field him, needless to say. And in terms of the forward rookies, well, Wilson and Dempsey, they're the two clear standouts at the moment. Again, I'd love to have Manor in the team, and if he played round one, that's the only real situation that I could see myself shaking anything up with this team at all. Or maybe if there's another player missing, well, then I would just really substitute the next best available rookie in, essentially. But yeah, my structure, can't see it changing, and really it's just about really having the rookies. So you've got these four forwards, you've got your ruck, you've got all these as your mids, and then you've got really these 3/4 in defense. So I believe, at least based on what I'm thinking in terms of scoring output, in terms of upside for price growth, that this should be really your optimized structure for the 2024 AFL season. So yeah, hope this helped. And yeah, in my next video, which will be uploaded immediately after, you've got my AFL Fantasy Team Reveal and my AFL Real Dream Team side reveal as well. So there will be some differences in those teams, and really essentially I'll just cover the players that basically aren't in my Supercoach team. So yeah, look forward to seeing you then.